interesante. Solo una cosilla. ¿Qué es Internet? ¡Qué pasada! ¿Cuántas cosas?
We knew that when we started working on the movie in 2014, which is like ancient history to the internet.
Truly.
And people would say, oh, you have to do a joke about this or that. We're like, well, no, I don't know if anyone's gonna remember that, you know, in 2018. So it's kind of, we use this analogy of like making a cake, you know, that the emotional story, you know, the story about Ralph and Penelope's friendship is like baking the cake part of the cake. And then the internet is like the frosting, you know. So first we made the cake, you know, and then as we got closer to the movie coming out, we said, okay, now we can decorate this cake with things about the internet, because we know that in 2019, the internet's gonna be different, and there will be things in our movie that have changed, you know, and will not be as relevant. But we took the approach of any live action movie that takes place in a big city, you know, say like Miracle on 34th Street that takes place in New York of the 1940s, I guess that was, the late 1940s. It's like, New York doesn't look like that anymore. It's totally different, but you can still watch that movie and the emotional story, you connect to it, but you're seeing a snapshot of New York as it looked in the late 1940s. And we said that's what we're doing here. You know, that hopefully in the future, people will still be able to enjoy the story and relate to what's going on between the characters. And they'll say, and that's what the internet looked like in 2018 when they made it.
Well, the scene itself started as sort of a joke idea, and then, but if it had just been that, we would have cut it out of the movie, you know. It eventually turned into a scene that was absolutely instrumental for Penelope in her journey and in her sort of moment of self-discovery. And that's how I think it earns its way into the film. Like, again, if it had just been a joke where we're sort of poking fun at the tropes of the princesses, it's a funny set piece, but it has nothing to do with the story. And so hopefully all of the Easter eggs, all of the big jokes and set pieces in the film actually have an emotional point to the arc of the characters. And I think to me, that's why it works, because without that scene, Penelope might have gone back home and stayed in Sugar Rush. Because of that, she has this moment where she's like, maybe I'll stay here.
As we were working on the story, developing it, we would say, really, the villain, the antagonist of this story is Ralph, not Ralph, but his insecurity. It's that voice that he hears in his head whenever he thinks that Penelope's not paying attention to him, that he needs to get involved in her life, or why isn't she with me right now? That is the true villain, you know, of the movie. And we didn't know how we were going to personify that voice in our head that tells us, you know, that we need to get involved when it's not our business to get involved. And we even tried, like, okay, well, why don't we try a traditional villain, you know, here? But nothing seemed to work. So we had to just double down and say, I don't know how we're gonna do it, you know, but somehow that needs to be the antagonist. And it just took a lot of kind of working on it. And how can we personify this thing into a monster, you know, which insecurity can become. It can be a huge monster in our lives if we feed it and we let it get out of control. And it becomes just that, this beast, you know, that wants Penelope, wants to hang on to her and will destroy anything around it just to have that one thing that it thinks that I need this more than anything else.
Well, I think regardless of what's next,
Yeah.
both of these films have opened my eyes to the appetite of the audience to, of course, they want to be entertained and see the spectacle of a big, wild world, but also kids in particular are eager to have meatier, weightier subjects, you know, and not be talked down to. And of course we're going to entertain them, but if they leave thinking a little bit, that's not a detractor, you know, that I think used to be sort of a thing with animated films and family films, that it's just candy, but you know, there could be a little meat there too, or healthy vegetables for your vegan children.
If you are a vegan. Yeah.
But
princesa, chicas.
¿Y qué clase de princesa eres?
¿Tienes pelo mágico?
No. ¿Manos mágicas?
No.
¿Los animales te hablan?
No.
¿Has sido envenenada?
No.
¿Maldecida?
No.
¿Secuestrada o esclavizada?
No, ¿estáis bien? Voy llamando a la policía.
¿Todo el mundo da por hecho que tus problemas se solucionan cuando aparece un hombre grande y fuerte?
Sí. ¿De qué va todo esto?
¡Es una princesa!